Shelley, can we please have the roll call?
Mr. Devon,
Present?
Mr. Hawley,
Present.
Mr. Krasinski,
Present.
Ms. Hannon,
Present.
Mr. England,
Present.
Ms. McCombs, Ms. Gendron, Dr. Thacker,
Present.
Thank you, Shelley. We are a 9-member commission. Currently, we have 6 members present in person and no members attending virtually today. If any petitioner would prefer to have their petition heard with more members present, they may ask staff to have their item tabled to a future meeting when more members might be present. With that, may we have the reading of the first petition, please?
Rezonings number 1, a proposed ordinance of LM and SM LLC to zone from C Commercial District and R1 Single Family District to C Commercial District. Property located at 1724 and 1712 Lincoln Way West, Town of Osceola, APC application number 3005-23.
Yes, this is Sean Klein, Area Plan Commission staff. So this is a petition to rezone a couple of parcels within the town of Osceola on the north side of Lincoln Way West. As you can see, the parcels are currently split zoned. The majority of the parcels are already zoned C commercial, whereas that northern portion there is zoned R1. The petitioner would like that to also go to C commercial in order to allow for him to expand his existing auto body business further north into the parcels. Currently on site, as mentioned, is an auto body shop that's comprised of 3 buildings along with paved parking areas, seen here. To the north, there are 2 landlocked parcels that are zoned R1 Single Family District within the town of Osceola. One of these contains a single-family home, which is accessed via an easement on the petitioner's property, which connects it with Lincoln Way West. The other one is currently vacant. To the east is a 6.5-acre parcel, which is partially zoned C commercial along the Lincoln Way West corridor, and the remainder of it, as you go north, is zoned R1 single family. This parcel currently appears to contain a single-family home. To the south across Lincoln Way, when you look down from the southwest side of the subject property, those properties are actually in the county. There's one that's on C commercial that appears to contain a formal wear slash sprinkler service business. And then as you go further to the east, there are 2 parcels zoned R single family district in unincorporated county, which contains single family homes. And then when you get to that corner with Basswood, there is a parcel zoned C commercial district within the town, which currently contains a butcher shop. Here's the existing site, as seen from Lincoln Way once again. The new building would be at the north end of this building seen here. And if you look up into the north where it starts to be zoned, or actually where the edge of the petitioner's property is where that tree line sets in there. The submitted site plan shows for a proposed new building with an area of 14,800 square feet, approximately 20 feet in height. This would be located at the north end of the western parcel there. It would provide additional space for vehicle repair and painting, as well as office space. The site plan also shows 34 new parking spaces around this building. Overall, the entire project with the addition would have to show that it has adequate parking for 1 space per each service bay, and then on top of that, 1 space per employee. I don't think they'll have any trouble meeting that. The new addition will also have to comply with the landscaping standards of the town of Osceola, which would include type C full screening along the property lines which abut residential. In the case of the Osceola zoning ordinance, a 6-foot privacy fence would accomplish this need. Turning to the traffic and transportation, it is accessed via Lincoln Way, which is a 2-lane arterial. And in terms of utilities, the petitioner just recently got service with Mishawaka Sewer and Water, so that will be serving the site from now on. Turning to the state law criteria, staff finds that the rezoning would potentially advance 2 goals from the 1992 Town of Osceola Comprehensive Plan, which include expanding existing commercial corridors and an expressed desire to provide more job opportunities within the town. Although the future land use plan shows this for low-density residential, it's definitely not practical when it's already on a parcel that contains C commercial, and really the entirety of this undeveloped area that's zoned R1 residential now would take some significant upfront investment to extend the roads in to ever allow for single-family development there. Turning to the current conditions and character of the area, aside from the one single-family home that's immediately to the north and accessed via the easement on the petitioner's property, all of that vacant, those large parcel residentially zoned pieces of land are vacant currently, the ones that don't have the road frontage. And then it's really 450 feet to the north of the petitioner's property before you get into that subdivision there to the north. So we find that it's the most desirable use to allow for commercial uses to expand onto the entirety of the petitioner's property. This will still be adequate to protect the developed or single-family properties in the vicinity, and any buildings would need to meet setbacks from the R single-family district, as well as that R residential screening, which should be sufficient to protect the property values of those R zoned properties. And we find that it is responsible growth and development to allow a portion of a commercially used property to have more commercial use thereon when it doesn't have any adverse effect on surrounding properties, as is the case here. So staff recommends that this petition be sent to the town council with a favorable recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? May we have the petitioner, please?
Hi, I'm Steve Messenger. You want me to say a few words?
Sure, if you can.
Okay. I started this business in 1989, so we're into our 34th year now. Family business, my wife and I currently have 32 employees, and we're at about 40,000 square feet altogether. Shop that we want to build that's going to go into the rezone part that hopefully you guys give me permission to do, is going to be at another 10 to 12 jobs. So we do auto collision repair. We work on big trucks, a little bit of RV, not much. Mostly just, if they've been in a scrape, an accident or something, but.
Thank you.
Can you please provide your address for the record?
It's 1712D and 1712, or I'm sorry, and 1724. It's both of those lots.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Nope, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now open this up to the public. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Terry Lang from the Whiteman Company. I've known Steve for quite some time. In fact, I met him probably 25 years ago when he had done some repair work on one of my vehicles. The expansion that Steve is proposing right here is one of the unique properties that was bi-zoned when they picked an arbitrary distance off of the center line of Lincoln Way to zone property. And it created a kind of a hardship here. The reason why he's here, when you have two pieces of or one piece of property with two different zonings. To expand his business, it requires us to have both of these expansion areas be of the same zoning. I've got the same situation in Mishawaka. I own a piece of property that when the city of Mishawaka did their zoning, they ran it right through the middle of my property, and it creates a little bit of a problem, particularly when you're trying to get financing or things like that when you're doing projects. So this kind of cleans up a situation that was created years ago when the zoning map was created, kind of ignoring property lines and picking arbitrary distances for that. Steve has a great business right there and has employees that are great to work with, and I think it would be a great addition to the area right there. So, and if you have any questions with regards to the site plan, I put together the site plan for Steve on that. Be happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Can you please provide your address for the record?
It is 1402 Mishawaka Avenue in South Bend.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward. State your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand feature. Again, seeing none. Is there anybody present wishing to speak against this petition? Please come forward. Again, seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak against this petition, please use the raise hand feature. Again, seeing none, I will now close this to the public. Any last comments or questions by the commission?
Could I ask, Steve, is that right? What is your timetable for construction? I'm sorry, I should have asked that before.
We want to actually start building this year.
And you talked about hiring somewhere in the area of 12 new employees?
Yeah, 10 to 12.
Okay. And I want to share with you, too, that I've dealt with the people over there, and they are very, very cooperative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If no other comments or questions, do we have a motion?
Second that motion, Bob Hawley.
We got a motion and a second, and I think a third, to send APC 3005-23 to the Town Council of Osceola with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor say by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Petition number 2, please.
A proposed ordinance of Suk and Yoon Park to zone from B Business District and R Single Family District to B Business District, property located at 51340 Bittersweet Road, St. Joseph County. Application number 3006-23.
Good afternoon. This is Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff. The petitioner here is looking to rezone their full property to B Business District with plans to build a new retail space in addition to the existing retail residential building on site. You can see the site is located on the north section of the Bittersweet Road corridor in a split zone B Business and R Residential. To the west, across Bittersweet, is all industrial and commercial buildings. To the south is OB office buffer, which includes a dentist office and some vacant parcels. And then to the north and to the east is residential subdivision. On site currently, it's a wig boutique building that has a residential space in the top area and an accessory structure that's accessory to the retail currently going on the site. This is the Bittersweet Road corridor. County engineer Sky Metters commented that should this plan be approved, they would be forced to put in an acceleration and deceleration lane at the access point on Bittersweet Road to help alleviate traffic issues. Here's the proposed site plan. You can see a new 9,600 square foot building in the rear of the property, as well as it being landscaped by type 2 full screening on all sides. There's also a couple parking spots and more pavement than what's there currently. Looking at our criteria, staff finds that the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan, specifically promoting the upgrading, rejuvenation, and beautification of all existing commercial centers. It's also compatible with the current conditions found on Bittersweet, as you could see from the highly commercialized section of the road there. The most desirable use for the property would be one that continues to promote the low-intensity commercial use that was intended when that site was first rezoned in 1982. Similarly, property values will be conserved given the retail nature of the proposed expansion and the shown landscaping on the site plan, which shouldn't have any adverse impact on the residential properties nearby. And then finally, staff believes that this proposal does represent responsible development and growth. Allowing the expansion of an existing light business provides additional retail options that may support that nearby residential neighborhood. So we are recommending that this be sent to the County Council with a favorable recommendation. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Thank you, Carl.
Carl, is that served with a well, and is it going to be hooked up to the septic or the sewer line?
Yeah, so it's proposed to be a private well, but a community, I think the Granger sewer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the presentation, please?
Thank you. Mike Danch from Danch Harner and Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the petitioners. As Carl had mentioned, what the Youngs would like to be able to do is expand their existing little retail center that they've got on their property. They've been there since 1982. It's done very well. This is along the Bittersweet Corridor, just south of State Road 23. And again, this is one of the ones where there was a split zoning for some reason for a piece of property. It is a lot in the subdivision, and I guess when they originally done it, they just decided to pick the area around the existing house and where the storage building was to be able to do the bee business. What we'd like to do is clean that up and make the entire property, which is just one lot in the subdivision, to the bee business category. As the staff had mentioned, what the proposal would be to do is, one would be a renovation of that existing storage building that the staff had shown right there, and make that into a small retail shop. And then also, if everything goes well, then that east building that contains around 9,600 square feet, that would be the next phase, would be to do some retail shops there as well. What we have done along that entire boundary, both the north, the east, and the south, because we do have that existing residential that is in that area, is to meet the county requirements for that type 2 landscaping. That's the heavy landscaping that's created so that you have a nice buffer between any of the business uses that you see here and the single-family residential. What the county engineer would like us to do, as Carl has mentioned, is also add a de-acceleration lane. So that way any cars coming into this particular site would be able to pull off of that main north, basically travel lane, and then pull into the site. And that just makes it easier for the traffic on Bittersweet Road to be able to pull into this particular development. As mentioned, is that this will be on the sewer for Granger. So in essence, what they'll end up doing is ejector pumps, and that'll be into the Granger sanitary line that's out there that services a lot of the businesses that are there. There will be the private well on site, and then obviously what we'll end up doing, we'll work with Sky Meadows and County Engineering to provide all the drainage that's required. The good thing in this particular area is we do have sandy soil, so there shouldn't be an issue with drainage or runoff for this particular location. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay.
We'll now open it up to the public. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anyone online wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, is there anybody present wishing to speak against this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address. Again, seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak against this petition, please use the raise hand feature. Again, seeing none, I will now close this to the public. Any last comments, questions, concerns? Otherwise, may we have a motion?
Bob Hawley, I'll make a recommendation. We send this to the county council with a favorable recommendation.
Jerry Thacker, second.
We have a motion and a second to send APC 3006-23 to the county council with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Petition number 3.
A proposed ordinance of Gurpreet Singh to zone from C Commercial District and R Single Family District to C Commercial District. Property located at 25572 State Road 2 Highway and 25590 State Road 2 Highway, St. Joseph County, application number 3007-23.
This is Carl Brown Grimm, Area Plan Commission staff again. So here we have plans to demo a vacant commercial building that used to be a restaurant and a residential building to build a convenience store fuel station combo. The property is located on the south side of the State Road 2 corridor, east of Quince Road, and then west of the US 20 bypass. Similar to our previous petitions today, this property is also split zone commercial. It's commercial in the north and then residential in the south. So while the State Road 2 corridor is usually a mix of commercial and residential uses, the area immediately surrounding this parcel is heavy commercial industrial. In the immediate vicinity, we have a self-storage unit, the South Bend Motor Speedway. It looks like an auto auction, wrecking yard type thing, and a Dollar General. Here's a view of the property from across the street. That's both buildings you can see there, the old Whiskey D's, and then a residential building are where the gas station will be in the future. That's the building, the commercial building close up, and the residential building there. This is the parcel immediately to the west. You can see the screening that is set to remain as it is. This is the South Bend Motor Speedway. And here is the long view of State Road 2 corridor. That's looking west, and that's looking east. So here's the proposed site plan. It shows a convenience store with 2 canopies for fuel. Again, County Engineer Sky Metters has stated that the petitioners will need to get permission from INDOT to approve those accesses onto State Road 2, which I believe they have already started that conversation. Looking at our criteria here, staff finds that this rezoning is consistent with a comprehensive plan, especially the goal of developing quality business areas to meet the retail and service needs of the planning area. As I mentioned before, the proposal is in line with the current conditions and character of the specific area of Highway 2, given that heavy commercialization part of this part of the corridor. And therefore, property values should not be adversely affected by the proposed fuel station. The most desirable use of this property would be to remove that split zoning so that it could be developed uniformly and consistently. And then finally, because this is a proposal to infill an existing vacant commercial space, it does represent responsible growth and development. For these reasons, we do recommend that you forward this to the County Council with a favorable recommendation, and I will take any questions you have now.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions? We have the presentation, please, Mr. Danch.
Thank you. Mike Danch from Dan Charner Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive here in South Bend, representing the petitioner. As Carl had mentioned, mainly what we're doing in this particular case is we're raising two buildings. One was an old restaurant facility that's on the western portion of the site, and there's an existing vacant single-family home that's on the eastern portion of the site. And once again, for some reason, and I think even when I was at area plan, there was a lot of these split zonings that we just picked a distance that was like 300 feet back from the arterial and zone those particular portions. And in this case, what we're trying to do is take that last approximately 300 feet and rezone it to completely so we have C commercial. We're sandwiched between a self-storage facility on that eastern portion of our property line and then the basically the parking area for the South Bend Motor Speedway on the western portion. We are showing two access points onto State Road 2 here. I have been in contact with the State Highway Department, Mike Hurt, over in LaPorte District. I've sent him all the same information that you're seeing here for the preliminary site plan, to have them take a look at it as well, to let me know if there's any issues or anything in particular that they would want us to do for this particular location. We'll certainly address any concerns they have, assuming this project would be approved. As the staff had mentioned, it would be approximately a 5,000 square foot convenience store. The pumps that you see on the front portion would be for basically vehicles, SUVs. The pumps on the back portion would be for trucks, because there are a lot of trucks that are using State Road 2. The remaining portion of that site, you can kind of see the dotted line that we put on the site plan. That's the split zoning. So everything toward that south portion, what would end up happening is that we would have that for a retention area, and then what we're doing is leaving a large area for a septic system and a reserve area. There is no water and sewer out at this particular location on State Road 2, so this will be handled by a private well and private septic system. And because you're doing a commercial operation here, we need to make sure that we have enough area for a replacement system for the health department. And then that would also be reviewed by the state health department as well. And we'll certainly meet all the requirements for that. Any lighting that would happen on this particular site, per the ordinances, has to be fully shielded, and so that you can't have any light spillage off site, and we'll certainly adhere to that. What we'll try to do on the back portion, where that's the only place that actually touches some residential property, we'll leave the trees as much as we can at that back portion to create that buffer as well. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you.
Mike, when I hear the word Quince Road, I start shaking.
Yes.
How far would you say Quince Road is east of where the property's going to be located? What would you
This
say?
is quite a distance. This is actually, I think it's about almost 800 feet east of Peach, and I think Quince is even farther away from that. And
Quarter of a mile?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's over that.
Okay, I guess I feel good about it, because I think maybe it'll help a little bit with that mess that we have on Quince Road.
Well, and I reviewed the documents for that one that was done on Quince Road, and they had a lot smaller property, and I think one of the other issues there, they were backed up against single-family houses as well, and it was a very cramped site to try to get everything to work. In this particular case, the great thing is we're right there by the Motor Speedway. We're on that straight stretch of State Road 2. And the state's going to dictate almost everything we do. They're going to make absolutely sure that there's no difficulty with any traffic that would come into the site or leave the site as well.
Thank you.
So,
Good.
so Mike, so what you're saying, this replaces what they were gonna do at Quinson 2?
No, this is a completely different party. I don't know who owns the one that was done at Quinson 2. That's not part of this particular one that I know of.
I'm just curious, you know,
Okay.
because this is the ideal spot for what they wanted to do at Quinson 2.
Yeah.
There's
No.
there's no issues putting it here.
Yeah.
But a lot of issues, as Mr. Holly just
Yeah.
mentioned at Quinson 2, because, you know, when I was on the council last year, we were very
Yeah.
adamant against that truck stop there at Quinson 2.
Yeah,
For
that's what I thought,
multiple
but no,
reasons.
this is a different owner. This is one of our clients. We've done some other locations for them. So I'm not aware that they own that one at Quincy too. Because I wasn't part of it.
Any other questions? Maybe we're going to open this up to the public then. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. Having worked at the post office in Mishawaka for 27 years, I am real familiar with this stretch of road. I agree this is a much better location for a truck stop, gas station, convenience store than was Quincy State Road 2. And I'm rising in support because for that reason, but a question I have is, if you're putting in truck canopies, you're gonna attract semi-traffic coming from the east, I'm assuming. So now are we going to have long lines of semis blocking traffic for all vehicle traffic headed west on State Road 2, turning into the truck stop, and then as they come back out to continue for going west on 2, I'm just seeing a need for a traffic light there, and we become another well, it won't be Quincy State Road 2 because there's not all the residential house, the residents there. It is a perfect area for this type of thing. My concerns are, what about the westbound semis lined up, waiting to turn across 2, and then turning back onto 2 headed west, blocking all the traffic coming both directions? Again, this is probably something way above my pay grade, which isn't saying much, but it's got to be something that you have to deal with before you say, go ahead and build it, and then have the trucks lined up back past back past Mayflower, waiting to turn into the gas station. I think it needs to be worked out before you say, go ahead and start digging. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else wishing to? Go ahead.
Mike, is that something that NDOT will look at when you speak with them?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm already in contact with them right
I
now.
just wanted to make sure.
The one thing that at this particular location that they've got is that there is a left-hand turn lane as you're coming west on State Road 2. So there's a portion of this site that actually has a left-hand turn lane. So if someone were to turn into this site, if they were westbound, they would be in that left turn lane completely, and they would not be blocking any of that westbound traffic. But it's one thing that the state looks at completely for anything. So they'll dictate what we get for the driveways at this particular location. The one at the very west side will have to be a right-in, right-out only. Because right next to that particular one, if you've been out there, and you probably don't remember, but that's where that berm is between the westbound lanes and the eastbound lanes. So there is not going to be a full access point on that west driveway. That can only be in and out. That's it. Right in, right out.
Thanks.
Mike, do they have the?
I would just like to remind you guys, we're in the public portion of the meeting. The time to request that the petitioner answer the questions raised by the members of the public is when the public session is done, under your rules.
I'd like to ask a question when it comes to my mind.
But that would require a change to your bylaws or a request that you suspend them.
I'll wait until you're done. If there's anything else, let me know.
We'll do all the public hearing, and then petitioner has a rebuttal, and then the board members can ask any questions.
So we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none. Anybody present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is James Kalesia. I own a piece of property at 25751 State Road 2. I've grown up my entire life on that highway. It's a very dangerous stretch of highway. I've had a family member hit. There was an accident last week, Wednesday. Every day, there's something going on the highway. The highway is way over traffic. The state can't even tell us how they're gonna fix the highway. And with the new battery plant coming in, the traffic is gonna get intense. There is no room for merging off or on, limited access crossing the highway. So from Pine Road to Peach Road, there is no way to merge off to turn. Did a little inspection on roughly how many cars go in and out of a gas station a day. Between 3,000 cars a day turning. So they're turning in, they're turning out. How many of them are going different directions? They come in one direction, go the other. By putting a truck stop there, you could have 300 to 400 semis a day into this piece of property. This highway cannot handle that kind of traffic. And I don't know what they're going to do with the battery plant. There's just no room to make the highway bigger. So I'm very concerned. They come off the bypass, they race down to, people are turning and they rear end each other. So I would like to see a commercial business there. I don't feel a gas station truck stop is a suitable business for that property. Thank you.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Sunny Singh. I am from 26395 State Road 2. I own the gas station on 2 and Quince. The reason why I'm here to protest this. We don't think it's a good idea to put another gas station in the area. First of all, because obviously we have a traffic situation there, as you guys know. I've been in front of this committee before. It's way worse on this side of the highway than it is on our side of the highway. And matter of fact, it's just bad, period. It's relevantly close to ours. We were denied our truck to build to expand our station, which is already existing, to a truck stop. We own all the property around us because the public thinks that it would be more dangerous. Obviously, more semis would be coming through, and we even work with NDOT to put a turning lane in for our gas station and to close some exits or entrances and move our entrances and exits to make it all safer, but we were still denied our truck stop. And this being put up here now is just, it's being thrown in our face that, hey, like somebody else is trying to do the same thing, and we were turned down to do the same thing. I don't think it's I don't think there's a need for another station there, just because you have Dollar General right there, you have us down the street. It takes away from the business. There's Martin's, there's an Amoco across the street from them, and another BP. I honestly don't think there's another reason for it, and I think it's even worse getting into here than it is ours. At least you can get off Quince and come into our station. You can't get off anywhere and try to get into here. And for somebody turning the other way, I was just at this property today looking at it. It's not a turning lane. It's just this to turn into it. If you're coming from eastbound and you want to turn in, it's not a turning lane. It's just a divider. So turning there is very tough. I just don't think that it needs to happen. I'm against it, and it's you guys. Thank you.
Anybody else present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward. Seeing none, is there anybody else online wishing to speak against this petition? Please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none, we'll now have a chance for the petitioner to rebut.
Did you want me to finish answering the other question? So in this particular case, as had mentioned, the state highway department is very particular about traffic in and out. They only want to make absolutely sure that there's safety for everything that they see along here as far as the uses. They will take a look at the uses. There's nothing that you can't have more than one convenience store in a particular area, and sometimes, as the staff had mentioned, that this will alleviate some of the traffic at those other gas station facilities as well. This particular one, if the state requires us to do any additional pavement on that south side for traffic coming in or going out, we will be required to do that. There is enough right-of-way there. If there's not, they will make us do it within what we own for this particular area. There is a larger right-of-way for State Road 2 along this portion of that site. So the state will dictate everything that we're required to do here to make sure that we meet all the safety standards. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Mike, does NDOT, do they have the authority to recommend a stoplight there, or where does that order come from?
No, that potentially could be their requirement. Usually what would end up happening with the State Highway Department, they would take a look at the amount of traffic, what we call the average daily traffic count across any particular area, because they don't necessarily want to put a traffic light in if it's slowing traffic down at a particular location, in this case in the middle of a block, to be able to do that. So what they would do is take a look at it. They would decide if there would be a situation for a traffic light, but they would also then ask for a traffic impact study to be done. In all my years for doing anything along state highways, I've never seen where they would pick a spot in the middle of a block to ask to do a traffic light. And the reason for that is because of the speed and the issues that you have when you start doing a traffic light. If you put a traffic light at this particular location, you're doing it just strictly for the convenience store, which doesn't make any sense. And from a standpoint of safety, the state wouldn't do it that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions by the commission?
I have I guess a general question, and it's not necessarily for any audience member, but when we get into a situation like this, the battery plant was mentioned, and I know there's that whole corridor, it's not just this piece. How does that come into after us? Like, if, say we passed it, with the condition that it was, I don't know, do we need to consider that part, or is that something that we have to trust that they're taking care of on that? Because I understand that part is kind of crazy there. And not having a full turn-off lane, like how do we know if we pass this, that is going to be comprehensively looked at, that entire length?
It is challenging because this is a state highway. So decisions about what happens along State Road 2 will ultimately be made by NDOT. There are a series of improvements that are proposed along State Road 2. I don't know what is being proposed along this section. I don't think it's anything more than repaving.
Okay.
Except till you get west.
Correct.
By the plant, it's a little bit more major there.
Correct.
Okay, thanks, Abby.
Question for Brandy. Should we wait on hearing something back from NDOT, or can we go ahead and send this to the county council without?
There's no reason that you can't act on it today. NDOT's going to do what NDOT's going to do. The question before you is, are you recommending to the county council that on a county level, you're good with it? And if you strongly feel that what NDOT decides to do would seriously affect your decision, I mean, that would be something you could include, I guess, in your...
Well, the gentleman in the back brings up a valid point about, trucks turning in and out of properties and cars. But that's a whole stretch up and down, too. You can go to any of those places along there, and do they need a turn off? Yes,
I mean, technically, in the commercial district, they could put a gas station there, it just wouldn't be able to have a truck stop, or depends, it looks like, looking at it, you know, depending on where that septic or the drainage field would be at, so. But the way it's zoned now, they could put a gas station in there as it is, without it coming to us, so they're just looking to rezone that portion,
Yeah.
So it can, yeah.
so it can.
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. Now, wouldn't be as much as they're looking to do, because it's split zoned. So they're only looking to rezone that back half, which is with the residential side. Any other questions? Or does anybody have a motion they'd like to make? The rest question, just on the split zoning, there's no other access to this property from any other location, correct? It's all kind of landlocked, is that?
Yeah, yeah, it's all.
It's all landlocked.
Yeah, just the 2 access points on State Road 2 that are there.
I mean, I think in any kind of split zone I mean, it makes sense to keep the whole parcel zone the same in my mind, one way or another, because it's pointless to have that back half residential. I mean, unless you're having ag and you're farming it, but it's not. So, I mean, in my mind, I would think it makes sense to keep the whole parcel zone the same.
In saying that, is that your recommendation?
I can't make a recommendation. If I were to make a recommendation, that would be my recommendation.
I just think it sounds like
Any other comments or concerns?
it's a tough one.
And staff did recommend favorably, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. For actually pretty much the same reason you outlined.
I think for that reason, the split zoning, that's what we're voting on. I make a motion to pass that in hopes that the safety is then addressed at the next level with the county or the state highway. So Molly Hannon, I make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Did Molly say to approve it?
Yes.
I couldn't hear her. there.
Sorry.
Yes, we have a motion to approve. We need a second. Am I allowed to make a second?
That's what Brandy and I are doing right now.
So essentially, Robert's rule says that the chair can make a motion or second a motion. It's just that they're encouraged to refrain from doing so unless they absolutely have to.
If nobody else is wanting to make a second, I will make a second on that. So I guess with that, we have a motion to send APC, or we have a first and a second to send APC, where are we at, 3007-23 to the county council with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
2, 6, 4, 2. We need 5 to pass.
So that failed.
So that fails.
So
So we
now
have
the
4
opposite needs to be.
We need 5, we're a 9-member board, so we need 5 to pass one way or another. So that fails. Do we
Yes.
have another motion?
Which needs to be for unfavorable under your rules.
The rules are, yes, since we couldn't agree on a motion for favorably, we'll have to make a motion for unfavorably and vote on that.
Tommy, when I'll make the motion for unfavorable.
Robert Krasinski, I'll second that.
We have a motion to second to send APC 3007-23 to the county council with an unfavorable recommendation. Do we want to do hand count since we were split?
That's probably best.
Okay. Can we have roll call, please? For an unfavorable recommendation.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Ms. Hannon?
Me?
For unfavorable.
Can
For
I s-
unfavorable,
Can I say undecided? Is there a way?
you have to either, I mean, I guess you could abstain, but I think you can only abstain under your rules for if you have a conflict.
Jeez, this is a tricky one.
Yes, a yes would be to send unfavorable.
If we don't pass this, then we do like we did, was it last month or 2 months ago, where we send no recommendation.
Okay, and then it can come back, or how,
Then
does
it
that
just goes to the
stop?
county council with no recommendation.
Gotcha, okay. Yes,
Yes for unfavorable?
yes.
Dr. Thacker?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Krasinski?
Yes.
Mr. Devon?
No. Motion carries. Can we have a reading for petition number 4, please?
A proposed ordinance of Todd L. Kaminsky, Jill F. Olhouse, and Tim Kaminsky to terminate written commitments found in the office of the recorder as document number 2020-39209, which were required by rezoning ordinance number 67-20 for property located at 31000 Fillmore Road, St. Joseph County, APC application number 3009-23.
All right, Abby Wiles, APC Director. This is a request to terminate written commitments that were included as part of rezoning ordinance 6720 that included use restrictions. In around the same time, 2 other rezonings, one on property owned by Sebastes and the other on property owned by the Redevelopment Commission, included written commitments that included these same use restrictions. Those written commitments also had, or those written commitments specifically had language about preserving wetlands. These do not, these only had use restrictions. This property is now within the IEC overlay, the Indiana Enterprise Center overlay district, that addresses the uses that are prohibited by the written commitments and more. So the petitioner is requesting to terminate the written commitments to remove any cloud on title that exists in order to potentially move forward with the closing of the property. Staff recommends that the petition be forwarded to the county council with a favorable recommendation. Again, because these same use restrictions are now covered by the IEC overlay district that was passed a couple months ago. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Abby. Questions? Do we have a petitioner, please?
Good afternoon, Bill Shalio, Economic Development Director, part of the Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, offices on 7th and 11th floor. Before you today, asking to remove these written commitments. Again, as Abby mentioned, these are use requirements that were placed as part of the 2000 rezoning, or 2020 rezoning. The overlay covers these uses, and so we'd ask for these to be removed. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Bill. Questions? We'll go ahead and open this up to the public. Is there anybody present wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand function. Again, seeing none. Anybody present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. Again, seeing none. Anybody online wishing to speak against this petition, please use the raise hand function. And seeing none as well, I will now close this to the public. Any last comments, questions by the commission?
Bob Hawley, I'll make a motion to approve the area plan number 3008-23 and send it to the county council with a favorable recommendation.
Is that the right number?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 3009-23.
Jerry Thacker, second.
We have a motion and a second to send APC 3009-23 to the county council, right? With a favorable recommendation. All those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We do have a text amendment to approve or disapprove. Do we have a reading for that?
Text amendment, a proposed ordinance amending Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 154, Planning and Zoning of St. Joseph County, Code Section 154.211 Sub A, to add data centers as a permitted use in the I Industrial District, and Section 154.635 to add a definition for data centers. APC application number 3008-23.
Great. Abby Wiles, APC Director again. As Shelley just said, it's as simple as that. This adds data centers as a permitted use in the industrial district and adds a corresponding definition. Staff would interpret data centers as being permitted in the industrial district under an existing use classification. However, in working with prospective businesses that are interested in coming to St. Joe County, to remove any ambiguity in the site selection process, we would like to have it explicitly spelled out that they are permitted in the industrial district. The same language that you'll see in the definition section is in the IEC overlay district, but this would pertain to the entire industrial district for all property zoned industrial in St. Joseph County. So staff is recommending, whoops, sorry about that. Staff is recommending approval, or that this be sent to the county council with a favorable recommendation, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? We need to open, this is public too, correct? Yeah. We'll now open this up to the public. Is there anybody present wishing to speak in favor of this text amendment? Please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. Anybody wishing, anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none. Anybody present wishing to speak against this petition, please come forward. Again, seeing none. Anybody against this petition online wishing to speak against this, please use raise hand feature. Again, seeing none, I will now close this. Any last comments, questions? Otherwise, may we have a motion?
Robert Krasinski, I make a motion to send APC 3008-23 to the county council with a favorable recommendation.
Bob Hawley, I'll second that.
Don't we just approve those, or do we not? Are we sending this to, okay, we do send this, okay. We have a motion, a second, to send APC 3008-23 to the county council with a favorable recommendation. All those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have some minutes, a couple items not requiring public hearing. We have minutes to approve. May 16th meeting.
Bob Hawley, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the May 16, 2023 meeting of the Area Plan Commission.
Sherry Thacker, second.
And a motion is second to approve the minutes for May 16th, 2023. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes pass. Abby, Executive Director's report, please.
Included in your packets is a summary of petitions that recently hit the county council agenda. Of particular note is 14017 Dragoon Trail. That was tabled when it got to council and was ultimately withdrawn by the petitioner just before the final public hearing. So the gas station at Dragoon and Elm, thank you, Bobby K.
Is off the board, huh?
For now, yes, they withdrew.
When can they bring it back?
They could refile, it's my understanding, any time, because it wasn't denied.
Would it come back and from,
It would have to be a brand-new petition that would come back to you all and then go to the county council.
Site plan as well?
we don't require site plans.
We require a site plan with a rezoning, but, I mean, if there's vacant land, it can be a pretty bare bones site plan. All right, so that one was withdrawn, and if it's refiled, it would come back to you all. And on the comprehensive plan, I know Adam is real happy about this, but task force just concluded their work on the draft recommendations. We anticipate that the final draft will be delivered to staff by the end of this month, and then we will start reviewing, and we'll plan the rest of the public outreach and final public meetings for the plan. So stay tuned for those dates. And then the town of New Carlisle, I'm looking at Molly and Carl, you all entered into your contract with MACOG to wrap up the town's to work on the town's comprehensive plan. And I don't know that a kickoff has been determined yet.
Yeah, it has.
All right, great.
Abby, just for, let everybody know, I mean, what's their, on the county comprehensive plan, what's their projected
All right.
timeframe that we would act on that?
Probably not looking until the fall.
Okay.
So what we're in the process of planning with the consultant now is staff will work on the draft alongside the consultant. We'll have a number of public meetings. We're looking to come back to a number of what I'll call special interest groups, including like the Builders Association, the Farm Bureau, and a lot of the groups that were really highly engaged in the process. And then we're building in potentially a work session for you all, if you'd like that, prior to being presented with a draft. Like a presentation / work session to get your feedback on the draft before we come back to you with a request to act on it.
Abby?
Yes.
Pick your brain. That property on the corner of Elm and Dragoon, on the east side of Elm, on that corner, is that Mishawaka?
No, I don't believe so. It's all county.
No? How far is Mishawaka away from there?
I mean, go north on Elm and then you're in Reverewood.
Yeah.
Very far.
So from Reverewood, that's.
Is that about where the city
That's
limits
in
end?
It's
Mishawaka.
mostly like north.
Just to the north?
Not far north.
Not far. No, not too far north.
That's quarter of a mile, half a mile.
Well, I guess my question is, do you think that there's any possibility that Mishawaka would annex that property further north or further south?
One of the things they were saying was they wanted to kind of work their way down there. I think that was Mishawaka's biggest issue with that petition.
So maybe in the future, if they acquire parcels like.
As they move south.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I just heard rumors, and that's why I asked the question.
And the petitioner was seeking city utilities there.
Right.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Yep.
And you said town council, New Carlisle's looking to update their comprehensive plan as well then?
Are you participating with that, Molly?
Am I what?
Are you participating?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
I'll tell her.
Carl, do you know when the kickoff
It's
is?
next week.
All right.
Tuesday the 27th at 9 a.m.
All right.
You hear that, Dan?
You gonna be there?
Now, do we, on the procedures for any kind of conference, we vote on, does the county council and the commissioners vote on that too, or does it just end with us?
It's the same as with like a rezoning that goes to your town. Tom, do you remember we did yours last year?
We did, yeah.
Right, Avonmarsh, you contracted with Avonmarsh, they gave us the plan, we reviewed it, we put it on the agenda, and it goes through the area plan, but then ultimately to the town council for action, final action.
Just curious.
Yep,
Anything else, Abby?
nope.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
A motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
Aye, aye, aye.
Are you opposing it too? Is that what you're?
Has anybody ever voted no?
On what?
On an adjournment?
The second part of the overlay process, when is that going to start? I mean, GM will take part in that, correct?
I don't know, I mean,
Wasn't that the reason for doing the second part, so that the eventual property owner has some say in